Good evening, I'm Cynthia Ng. You are tuning in to Awani Tonight. BN to decide after GE15 if it needs to merge with other parties to form government. And Singapore sees spike in COVID-19 cases due to XBB subvariant. What is the risk to Malaysia? That and more coming up. Barisan Nasional will wait till after G15 to decide on whether to cooperate with any other party to form the government. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said that it is still too early to decide on anything right now.
Jadi kita cross the bridge dululah. Lepas tu baru kita buat keputusan. Kita buat andaian terlalu awal pun susah juga ya. Kita pun tak tahu apa yang akan berlaku dalam pilihan raya nanti. Jadi lepas pilihan raya nanti keputusan dah buat, insya-Allah kita akan buatlah apa saja keputusan demi kepentingan negara dan yang pentingnya kita nakkan sebuah kerajaan yang stabil.
Ismail Sabri, who is also UMNO Vice President, said BN is still in the midst of completing the seat allocation process among its component parties, as well as parties deemed as friends of BN, before it could focus on the candidates. As BN has only 4 component parties, UMNO, MIC, MCA and PBRS, he expects the decision to be made soon. Earlier, Ismail Sabri said that BN aims to win at least 80 of the 222 parliamentary seats in GE15. Former PKR Vice President Tien Chua is seeking to reclaim the Batu parliamentary seat for GE15. Having served as Batu MP for 2 terms from 2008 to 2018, he remains confident he has the support of his former constituents. Tien Chua said he is currently waiting for PKR to decide on his candidacy, but hoped he will be fielded in Batu. He was disqualified from running for the Batu seat in GE14 due to a 2,000 ringgit fine imposed on him by the Shah Alam High Court. However, the court later ruled in November 2019 that he was in fact eligible to contest in any election. The Batu seat is expected to be hotly contested, with incumbent MP and Batu PKR chief P. Prabhakaran is also reportedly looking to defend the seat. Lawyer and activist Siti Kasim announced she will contest in Batu as an independent, with Gerakan and Barisan Nasional also expected to be in the race there. Gerakan Tanah Air GTA will focus on young and new voters in GE15. Its founding chairman, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, said he found this group of voters to be unfamiliar with the current political situation and that they may need further clarification.
The party found that young voters will likely be following their parents' decisions when voting. Mahathir said that GTA will try to convince them that Pejuang will fight for the original struggles of Bersatu. Yesterday, Bersatu's Secretary General, Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin, said that a possible cooperation between Perikatan Nasional and Pejuang cannot be easily decided and must be discussed at the highest level. GTA was formed on August 4th and led by Pejuang. It previously stated that it wanted to contest 120 parliamentary seats in the country.
Can the Prime Minister seek the dissolution of Parliament without Cabinet approval? Tonight on Consider This, we ask our guests about the role of Cabinet in calling for the dissolution of Parliament. Corruption will continue to be a key issue going into the elections. C4 Centre's K. Sudagaran Stanley discusses 3 key reforms that voters should demand for in GE15 to rid the country of the systemic problem.
We need to see that politicians who are contesting these coming elections are really committed into, first of all, ensuring that there are separation of powers between the AG and the PP. We have seen this, how the AG and PP in regards to the number of cases, their performance where political persecutions have been ongoing. There have been called even for, when Najib was being charged in court for his cases to be dropped, or for the AG to be replaced by their own person. So all of these kind of issues could only be addressed if there is a proper separation of powers within the institution. Whistleblowers in this country faces a lot of problems, in terms of wanting to come forward and blow the whistle. There's basically no protection for them to actually come forward and blow the whistle, right? And nothing actually entices them in doing so. They actually face persecution when they actually come forward and they blow the whistle. So there needs to be a proper reform, and that whistleblowers needs to be convinced that when I come forward and blow the whistle, I'm going to be protected under the law, and that there's no retributive action that's going to be taken against me. And number 3, which is the reforms towards the most important institution of the country, which is the MACC. We have seen over and overly how the MACC has been used as a political tool by the successive governments to actually go after political opponents. And the MACC themselves, although being an anti-corruption agency, they are merged with so much of corruption issues, abuse of power. The MACC chief himself, with this recent share trading issue scandal and so on. So it is very important that the upcoming politicians will be committed to actually place MACC under Parliament and ensure that the appointment of the Chief Commissioner is made through a parliamentary process.
Now is the time to demand for greater reforms, says Sudagaran. He urged voters to hold politicians accountable to past promises. At the same time, push for reforms to address the pressing issues facing the nation.
Many people do not understand these issues at the top. What reforms are people talking about? Separation of powers, reforms to MACC. Many people on the ground find it very hard to understand these sort of issues, and politicians actually use this to their advantage to exploit this issue. And that is our challenge, and this is where we come in to try to explain to the people that without moving forward these institutional changes and reforms to certain policies and laws, then bread and butter issues are going to be affected. There is going to be high cost of living because politicians are simply going to exploit the system. But what we are going through right now is a cleansing moment. And it is important for all of us not to give up at this moment, but to come out and to actually exercise our democratic right. We have managed to actually make and push for a lot of progress, in terms of certain areas that we're actually tracking and so on. We can see that there is some progress being made. And the reason why those progress are being made, because people are nowadays, the voters today are demanding, they are coming out and actually asking for those reforms to be put on the table and see. So we are actually starting to discuss those reforms in this period. And so this is a time we actually must start to push for further heights and push for, for more greater reforms to happen. Not a time for us to retreat back, but to actually move forward and hold our politicians accountable.
As we head into GE15, we will be featuring Question of the Day leading up to polling day, which will be announced by the Election Commission this Thursday. Now, all you have to do is scan the QR code on the screen to share your thoughts. What you're seeing right now is the results of a question we've been asking our audience the last 2 days. For more, head over to undi.astroawani.com to answer these daily questions. We'll take a quick break now. Stay tuned.
Dalam membawa setiap berita, semestinya yang penting adalah untuk membawa pelbagai sudut sesuatu cerita itu.
Yang pastinya suara akar umbi, terutamanya suara rakyat, harus diberi ruang. Kami di Astro Awani sentiasa komited dan juga bertanggungjawab dalam menyampaikan berita yang seimbang, konstruktif, terutamanya kepada seluruh rakyat Malaysia.
Saya Jasmine Abu Bakar.
Dan saya Ihsan Yahya.
Pastikan Awani 745 dan Sinar Awani menjadi pilihan utama anda.
Welcome back. Singapore has seen a spike in new COVID-19 cases this past month due to the Omicron XBB subvariant. With the infection wave expected to peak in mid-November, should Malaysia be concerned about this possible surge in cases? We speak to USM virologist Dr. Kumita Tevadas about the highly transmissible subvariant.
From what we know about XBB, it is as transmissible as BA5, which we saw in the country a bit earlier. The second question is, can it evade our immune system? And from what we know from research, it has been shown that it is probably the variant that is best at evading the immune system, which means that, whatever you throw in its way, it's able to avoid it. But that's sort of expected because the longer a virus is in circulation, and COVID is going into its 4th year now almost, it does acquire a lot of new mutations, and as it acquires new mutations, it's able to avoid our immune system pretty well. This also means a couple of things. So the first is that it means that, if you've never been infected before, there is a high chance that you might be infected with XBB. The second is that if you were infected during the early days of COVID with Alpha, with Beta, with Delta, you are also at a higher risk of being infected or reinfected with XBB. And the third is that if you last received your vaccine about a year ago, you're also at higher risk.
With the 15th general elections just around the corner, Kumita advises the public to continue practicing all public health measures, such as mask wearing and constant sanitizing of hands.
There probably is a very high chance that XBB might already be in Malaysia, and we may not have recognized it or realized it because people might be testing less. Those who do get tested may not be reporting it, and often it's usually from the PCR test, which is then sent for sequencing, where you're actually able to identify what type of variant is out there. But that being said, with Singapore and of course across different countries as well, you may see different numbers of cases depending on what type of COVID prevention measures you have in place. So with Malaysia, for example, even though we removed indoor masking a while ago, when you walk around, most people still are in their masks, which is a great thing. So everything that has worked for us before, all public health measures, masking, good hygiene practices, all those would still be able to protect us really well. Whether you're out in a crowd, whether you're going out to vote during the elections, if you do sort of sanitize your hands, make sure you're not standing around chatting in a big group, you should be okay.
Before we leave you tonight, we want to hear what you want for GE15. Here is the question of the day displayed on the screen. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the bottom right to share your thoughts. The results of these questionnaires will be revealed daily. And for more on GE15, head over to undi.astroawani.com. The choice is in your hands. Let's go out to vote this GE15. Once again, my name is Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching. Good night. If